Hi, I'm Conor Svensson, founder and CEO of Web3 Labs, and this is your Week in Blockchain on Monday, the 28th of June 2021. The highlights this week include China's crackdown on cryptocurrencies, Goldman Sachs performing a repo trade on JPMorgan's blockchain platform, Brave's new search engine, A16Z's latest crypto fund, Binance's NFT marketplace launch, although regulatory issues may be looming for the firm, and Beeple's latest NFT project. The major cryptocurrencies this week, they all suffered significant drops, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, off the back of China's crackdown on cryptocurrencies. Local authorities claim that the crackdown has cut the country's Bitcoin production by more than 90%. And given that it's estimated that 80% of global Bitcoin operations take place in China, it is, has the potential for significant impact. There are stories of a number of firms having moved their mining operations out of China or be trying to as a result of this. One of the drivers here was the People's Bank of China, which told the country's major financial institutions that they had to stop facilitating virtual currency transactions. So this basically meant they couldn't provide products or services such as trading, clearing and settlement for crypto. They were also told that they had to identify virtual currency exchanges and the accounts of dealers providing over-the-counter trades as well in a timely manner. And this was off the back of a consultation with a number of leading banks in China. The Agricultural Bank of China as well, it actually had a statement on its website too, which banned all crypto transactions and crypto trading related activity. So as a result of this, all of the major cryptocurrencies took a big hit this week. Then in slightly more upbeat news, we've had Andreessen Horowitz, the Silicon Valley VC firm. They've actually raised their largest ever crypto fund, which is a $2.2 billion crypto venture fund. So this crypto fund, which is their third one that they've launched, will be co-led by Chris Dixon and Katie Huang there. And as I said, it's their largest one to date. Goldman Sachs, they've also announced that they performed their first ever repo trade on JPMorgan's blockchain platform. So the trade, which was for a tokenized version of US Treasury bond, which was swapped for JPM coin, and the transaction took 3 hours and 5 minutes to complete. So again, JPMorgan have been talking about their Onyx blockchain platform for a long time, and it's great to see just more traction happening there. Brave have also launched a privacy preserving search engine in beta. Really what they're trying to do here is trying to capitalize on the growth in private browsers such as DuckDuckGo being the major one, but given that Brave is so widely used now and it's certainly managing to eat away at things like Google Chrome's browser, it's a good opportunity for them to break in here. Key with this, though, of course, is that it enables users to actually search for things, and what they're searching for isn't tracked, which, of course, anyone who's used to using Google is all too familiar with the issues there. Brave actually purchased a company called Tailcat recently in March, and so the technology that they're building out here is based on what they bought with that acquisition. Also this week, Binance have announced that their NFT marketplace was launching this week, and they had a Andy Warhol and Salvador Dali collection there. And so this auction was called the Genesis auction, and there would be high-end work by a number of these artists, and it featured Andy Warhol's 3 self-portraits and a digitized NFT of Dali's Divine Comedy Rebeget. However, there have been some issues this week for Binance in that the Japanese Financial Services Authority and the UK Financial Conduct Authority have both said that Binance should not be operating in those regions, which of course, given that the platform is used by a number of people in those regions, especially how popular their app is on the respective app stores there, it could spell troubles ahead for Binance. Off the back of this as well, we've also seen the UK bank TSB actually banning crypto trading because of scams around crypto wallets. So what they've actually done is they're planning to ban more than 5 million customers from purchasing cryptocurrencies. Some of the platforms that they've indicated that they really want to cut down on include Binance as well. Binance is reported to be of particular concern, according to them, because about 2/3 of all frauds related with cryptos apparently are tied to that platform. Of course, one of the reasons that Binance is so popular, of course, it is the most widely used exchange, but also with their Binance Smart Chain project, it makes it very, very easy for people to spin up new DeFi protocols and so on. And the ease with which that can be done has brought scammers onto the platform. We did report in a previous edition as well how the community were trying to call Binance to provide a bit more control on top of the platform to crack down on some of the scammers, but exactly how much has been achieved there remains to be seen. But certainly with this potential regulatory problems looming, as well as a major bank like TSB in the UK stopping people from being able to use the platform, it could start to spell some troubles ahead for Binance. Other crypto news is that the Amber Group have managed to achieve a valuation of $1 billion off the back of a $100 million funding round. And so they plan to expand their global operations off the back of this. The firm actually offers algorithmic trading and high frequency trading and over-the-counter trading to institutional clients. They've been very successful this year off the back of all of the activity that's been happening in the crypto markets. The Banque de France has also extended their wholesale central bank digital currency experiment. And so what they've done in their latest experiment, they used a CBDC to simulate the settling of securities using this target to securities, or TS2, which is the European Central Bank engine for instantaneous settlement. They did this using a public blockchain, and there isn't sort of more information about which blockchain they used as such, but they previously did one using a private blockchain by the UK startup Settle there. Sotheby's have also announced that they're going to accept crypto payments for a rare diamond auction. I think last week's edition we talked about Christie's accepting crypto payments for for auctions on their sites. Of course, Sotheby's want to continue to follow suit, although they've certainly been one of the leaders in terms of innovating insofar as listing NFTs and so on the platform. This specific listing though is for 101 carat diamond, which is going to be auctioned in July, and people will be able to pay it in either Ether or Bitcoin. The Intercontinental Exchange, Bakkt, has introduced a debit card which allows customers to pay for retail purchases using crypto. So basically they can take their Bitcoin from their Bakkt accounts without having to actually convert into cryptocurrency or fiat. Of course, the question is always with people who have crypto is that, are they typically holding it there for everyday payments, or are they there speculating on the asset? And most people would argue that it's the latter. So, how much adoption there'll be remains to be seen. But of course, it's good news that you've got a company associated with the Intercontinental Exchange, which is obviously huge, getting involved here. FTX, the crypto trading platform, they're now an official sponsor of the Major League Baseball, which is a huge opportunity for them. The sponsorship deal, which is expected to last for up to at least 5 years. Every major league umpire will have an FTX patch on their uniform. So in terms of just broadening the awareness of the FTX platform and also the digital assets that it supports, this is major news. We spoke again recently how FTX had put a lot of money into esports as well. So they're really starting to have a lot of impact in terms of these sponsorship opportunities that they're taking up. Although Binance is having some issues in Japan, Coinbase has now actually been approved to enter the cryptocurrency market there. So they've opened up the platform for investors, so people can actually invest in Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Stella Lumen. The financial services agency there said that it's actually been registered in the jurisdiction as a crypto dealer, and this was informed by a revision in the country's Fund Settlement Act. So certainly Coinbase are in a great position for the Japanese market. In enterprise news, a billionaire real estate mogul Frank McCourt is planning to invest $100 million in a project leveraging blockchain, attempting to democratize social media data. So what they're looking to do is this project Liberty, as it's being called, is focused on the development of publicly accessible databases of people's social connections. The idea here is it will encourage more egalitarian approach by social media platforms, where they can start drawing from a shared place of social media data rather than this all being private behind closed doors, which is obviously one of the problems. They're going to use blockchain behind the scenes, and they're calling this new type of infrastructure the decentralized social networking protocol. So it'll be a great project to see how it evolves. Morgan Stanley have announced that they're investing in the security token startup Securitize. They raised $48 million from an oversubscribed Series B, which was actually led by Morgan Stanley. In Capital as well, they've also raised a new fund of $300 million with backing from PayPal and Visa. They've been going for a long time, and so and again, they've, like Securitize, this has been a very oversubscribed round there. So, although the crypto markets more broadly have been hammered, there's certainly so much money flowing into these funds, as we're seeing here. Alibaba's AntChain has also confirmed launch of the blockchain transmission network. So AntChain, which is the blockchain arm of Alibaba Group's affiliate Ant Group, they've created this high-speed and long-distance blockchain communications technology called blockchain transmission network. The idea here is that it will increase throughput and stability on top of a high-speed internet backbone, which will cut the overall costs of bandwidths for people of it. Because of course, with blockchain, there's a lot of data being sent between different participants, given the distributed nature of them, and so being able to actually optimize those bandwidth requirements can pay significant dividends if done well. They've also launched the AntChain module as a service, which is a integrated module for simplifying the deployment of blockchains as well, which is nicely integrated, of course, with their cloud. Another significant fundraise this week was Chain Analysis, which closed a Series E of $100 million, which values them at a whopping $4.2 billion. Again, Chain Analysis, they provide software that kind of traces cryptocurrency transactions, and certainly in the areas where there's fraudulent activity and just regulators and so on, they've got a great interest in chain analysis's capabilities there. Over in the protocols news, the Alchemy platform, we spoke recently how they'd closed another significant round, and now they're going to add in support for the Ethereum's Optimism scaling network there as well. Although Optimism hasn't launched yet, we spoke previously about how they'd had significant investments of 25 million from Andreessen Horowitz at the end of last year, and that they've got some very good people working on the technology. So between Polygon and Optimism, they're certainly starting to emerge as the main scaling technologies for the Ethereum platform. But by making Optimism available on the Alchemy platform, which a number of different projects use for providing their kind of managed blockchain infrastructure service that sits on top of public blockchains, it's certainly going to be compelling and put Optimism in front of a wide number of projects there. Ethereum's EIP 1559 change as well, which will hopefully, which has the goal of reducing fees that people have to pay on the network to miners. And that's actually been released to the Ropsten testnet. So this is the first stage in a number of releases to different Ethereum testnets before it actually goes live on mainnet. And so it's great news that this first milestone has been hit. The plans are on June the 30th, the early testnet will see the release there, and then finally RinkB on July the 7th. And then after that point, it will actually go live on the Ethereum mainnet as well. Apparently too, around this time, we've also seen another 100,000 Ether being sent to the ETH2 staking contract. So whether that's a miner, taking some of their funds and actually starting to stake there, who knows? But again, it's funny to see the timing of this deposit that happened there alongside it. Coinbase have also announced a tool called Solidify, which they're going to be open sourcing soon, which apparently is used to auto-audit smart contracts and DeFi clones. Of course, one of the problems that we see a lot with smart contracts, especially in the DeFi landscape, is where there's bugs or errors in smart contracts where they get hacked and then funds get drained out of them. And so the idea here is that it just makes it simpler for those people who actually want to be able to audit smart contracts, who are issuing assets or maybe exchanges and so on, have an easy way to actually do this. So it's an exciting piece of technology to see to be coming out to be released publicly. In DeFi news, the DeFi network Kaura has won the first auction slot on the Kusama parachain for Polkadot's canary network called Kusama. Kauri raised more than 500,000 Kusama tokens from its community, which is about $100 million worth, and this ensured that they were able to win that first auction there. So there will be other auctions for other parachain slots on the Kusama Polkadot network, and down the line there will also be for the main Polkadot network. But again, it's certainly a big milestone for that project, to both Polkadot as well as Quora, to actually have this. Wirex, they're looking at bringing DeFi adoption to the mainstream by launching something new called X accounts, which is a service that offers people the chance to earn up to 10% interest on crypto holdings and 16% on fiat. They're working with a custody and infrastructure company firm called Fireblocks for this, and behind the scenes it's going to be they're tapping Aave, Uniswap, MakerDAO and 1inch for this technology. So it's great to see this kind of integration with more mainstream technology emerging. In the world of NFTs, we've seen Stella Artois, the producer of beer. They've announced they're teaming up with a group called Zrun to give users some unique horse racing NFTs. And the idea is that these horse breeds have got theme skins and a 3D racetrack for people to enjoy. So there's going to be some auctions that are happening this week to actually kick off this project. This week we've seen the Wicked Cranium sales top $4 million in 2 days. So these are new NFTs that are tied to algorithmically generated icons. Unlike things like CryptoPunks before them, these are portraits of skeletons rather than like your blocky CryptoPunks. There's 10,762 in all. The NFT site Rarible as well. They're going to be launching a marketplace on the Flow blockchain off the back of a $14 million funding round that they've had. Of course, for Rarible, given that they're in the market of actually selling NFTs, to be able to support one of the major NFT platforms like Flow, which has had a lot of traction with their NBA Top Shots, it makes absolutely sense, and no doubt we'll start to see more marketplaces potentially extending onto that. Reddit have announced they're also selling 3 Ethereum NFTs featuring their mascot Snoo. They're being called Crypto Snoos, which is basically an alien mascot that was originally created as a doodle, but it became ultimately Reddit's main alien mascot. The 3 Crypto Snoos are dubbed Original Block, Helium and Snoopromatic. And they're currently on sale on the OpenSea platform, and the auction ends this week. Alipay, the Chinese company, has also started selling some NFTs. They sold over 16,000 in under 24 hours. These were limited edition NFTs on its private blockchain called AntChain. However, the NFT transactions did not involve any cryptocurrencies. They were sold using fiat money. And of course, given all the scrutiny that cryptos come under in China, I'm sure the last thing that the Ali Group want to actually do here is, create some controversy around there. The artwork on these, though, it's featured flying apsaras, which are spirits, along with sacred deer from the caves of the 1,000 Buddhas in the Chinese city of Dunhuang. The NFTs were limited to 8,000 copies. The crossover DeFi and NFT project Avagotchi, they've released their Gotchiverse light paper. So they're really starting to tap into the whole metaverse narrative now as well, where they're thinking about how they can actually create a new type of token called the Gotchas Alchemia, which will be farmable within their realm land plots, as they're calling them. So taking some ideas out of Decentraland's mana and land token system. But again, given like the excitement of the Avagotchis also, but how well Aave have been doing, and from DeFi platform as well, it's great to see them kind of powering on with some pushing into the direction of the metaverse now as well. Finally, Beeple's bubbled up again, the artist who has had some record NFT sales, and he's announced that he's co-founded a new type of NFT project called WeNew, which is a marketplace that will partner with top brands to offer collectible moments across sports, entertainment, history, music, comedy, and more. The first drop will launch in partnership with Wimbledon. The first releases are going to be chronicling Andrew Murray, the tennis player, to his first big victory in 2013. Again, there's of course some similarities here with the NBA Top Shots, but it's fun to see people getting involved in a new space here, and it'll be a good project to watch to see how it evolves. In terms of our metrics this week, the crypto market cap is down just over 6% to 1.3 trillion. The assets locked in DeFi are down just over 8% to just under 49 billion. The NFT sales over the last 7 days, we've seen 16 millions worth of sales with an average price of $557, which is an increase of 11.2%. That's all we have for this week. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. Links to all items discussed are available in our show notes at weekinblockchain.com. Also, we'll be hosting a Clubhouse session at 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK if you're available to talk about any of the news items we've discussed here. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.